Welcome everyone to our Adobe user group. This is going to be a deep dive session with some Marketo champions, and we're very excited to have you all here. So I wanted to, before we get started and dive into the content, just a couple quick notes for Adobe Marketo Engage house rules for our user group. So one kind of really important thing, no self-promotion or pitching. Number one rule that we ask everyone to follow. It's meant to be a safe space, meant to be a place where you can ask kind of burning questions, share a problem set that you've been working on in your own work or role. And we want to respect the environment and make sure everyone kind of feels safe and private, that they can share these things. We all work for different companies and industries, and we want to protect our companies and make sure that we are kind of able to share and learn, but also not divulge anything that is, it's not really meant for a broader group. So we try to really stick to that. So no self-promotion, no pitching. If you're in sales by any chance, you are welcome to join and listen and learn. We just ask that you're not pitching your company or free demos or anything like that. Without asking someone first, we ask that you do not contact them outside of the user group. So something that you can do that I encourage folks to do is, if someone asks a great question or has a great answer and you're curious about reaching out after, just DM them here so that they kind of know, you're interested. Hey, I'd love to reach out to you on LinkedIn. Grab that consent, and then you can move on and hopefully make some acquaintances and maybe even some work friends. And last but not least, just a reminder to kind of keep things private and safe within this group. So if you've got a use case that someone has shared or a solution, maybe again, ask before you share it broadly on LinkedIn. Feel free to take notes, again, for your own kind of personal work environment, but we ask that things aren't kind of broadcasted out beyond the user group, and just to respect everyone's privacy in that regard. This meeting is being recorded. You can see the little red button here. We will post it afterwards to the MUG YouTube channel so that you can see if you ever have a question or kind of you're trying to remember what was the item that we discussed there, what was the solution, you can go back and kind of reference and check. And if we just like to mention it in case you don't feel comfortable being recorded, you can decide how you'd like to proceed. Always a great idea to stay connected with the different chapters. There are Marketo user groups, or MUGs as we kind of lovingly call them, all across the globe. Many are virtual as well. So even if you don't live near an office, or if you're not in a big city, you can still join. This is something that I tell everyone. It's a really great way to stay connected and kind of learn and see what's going on in the Marketo Engage world. You've got the link here. You can go ahead and get to the marketo.com Adobe deep dives. Deep dives are a little bit different than some of the other Marketo Engage user group meetings we have. They're exactly what they sound like. They're kind of a deeper dive into a specific topic. But if you're looking for broader expertise or kind of looking for a little bit broader swath of topics, we have virtual office hours with Marketo champions. There's also many virtual meetings for various geographical locations. London has virtual Marketo user groups. Denver has virtual groups that you can join. So the best way is to create a profile in Bevy, sign up, and then you'll get notified automatically whenever there are virtual meetings and in-person meetings. Last but not least, I'm sure everyone has heard at this point of Adobe Summit. We are very excited to have, I don't know which year it is. It's probably 20 or 30 years at this point, but Adobe Summit this year is in March 17th through the 20th in Las Vegas. Strongly encourage everyone to attend. And if you can't make it all the way to Vegas, there's a virtual option as well. A really great way. Adobe does a fantastic job of making those virtual options very engaging. And so you've got breakout rooms and you're kind of chatting with folks, and it's still a really great experience. So if you get a chance, look into the registrations. This is the perfect time to sign up and kind of see if there's company funds available. But it's a very, very incredible educational conference, and we hope to see some of you there. So without further ado, we'll get into the deep dive topic for today. So we've got Pierre and Melina as panelists. Both are Marketo champions. Um, Obviously in the marketing operations and marketing automation space, deep expertise from both of our panelists on multi-channel marketing. And we want to get into some of the details around app notifications, dynamic chat, which is an Adobe tool, and then as well as messaging apps. My name is Shivani. I will moderate, so I will be kind of in the background. Feel free to drop your questions into the chat. And I will take note, and we'll kind of go through the presentation knowing that if you've got questions, we'll pause, kind of look at those. If it's a really, kind of involved or longer question, I might just let you know in the chat, hey, we'll add it at the end, and we'll kind of come back around to it. But yeah, we hope to hear your questions in the chat. And I think without further ado, we can get started. Melina, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. So hope everyone can hear me well. So today I will cover the multi-channel marketing. So I just give a quick outline. So we'll do an introduction in terms of what is the popularity of the brand app, messaging apps, and chat support. Then I will look into the geographic preferences, which is what we see as global and region trends for messaging apps. We talk a little bit next about the benefits and costs, so you have an idea in terms of how it works. And then Pierre and I will go through the planning and setup station to reporting. So I will be covering the brand apps and brand apps and dynamic chat, and Pierre will cover the highlight, which is the messaging apps itself. That we can then pause for questions. The checklist is just a reference there. Probably we don't need to go through a lot in detail. So if that's great, we can actually move on to start the session. So first, I have a quick introduction in terms of why this is popular. As you can see, the number of mobile phone messaging apps users worldwide from 2019 to 2025 has grown. And what we are looking at is probably over 4 billion in terms of the apps by 2026. So how does this sort of work together? We can look at the next slide, whereby we can see the world of mobile messaging, whereby we have like 44% of time spent on social messaging. So brands are also contacted based on messaging at 56%, and 70% is actually based upon a lot of the customer care support. That's how we have it. So no surprise, WhatsApp is the most popular mobile messaging app in the world right now, with over 51 million downloads in a month. But what about the rest from a global stats perspective? If we move on, so we see is definitely WhatsApp that is actually then followed by the second largest, which is called a Chinese app, Weixin or WeChat, that is popular in China and Chinese communities around the world. And next we have from Facebook Messenger. Yeah, then it is actually followed by Telegram. So what we look at, WhatsApp was acquired in 2014 for about 19 billion, and Telegram started in 2013. So it has become a major competitor, and Telegram services like close to a business account of WhatsApp is what we see is going to be a contender. So, what is popular in your region? If anyone is able to share, what are the chat apps that is popular from your region? So we can also find that out if you are happy to drop that in the chat itself. While I will proceed to talk about the next region. So US, as we see, primarily it will be Facebook Messenger. But when we talk about Facebook Messenger itself, right, as a top at over 58%, and this is stats that I can get based on September 2024, it's still dependent on the age group. So I have a chart on the right hand side, whereby you can look at what is the age group that is actually popular with this particular messaging app. So if you are having a particular audience, maybe you can look at what is actually more engaging based upon your audience and age group that you think you want to actually engage. Yeah. So that's for US in terms of the stats. Moving along next, we would have Europe. So Europe and Middle East, the most popular messaging app is WhatsApp and Facebook. So there is a contender which is Telegram. So based on what I have downloaded in that chart from Sensor Tower, it says Telegram is actually the second one. So it really depends on how the stats is compiled, but definitely the top three will be between WhatsApp, Messenger, and Telegram. I understand from the European marketer champs, definitely WhatsApp will be across and widely used. And actually, from what I learned from Middle East colleagues, is also definitely WhatsApp. And then next, we will go to the Asia Pacific, maybe the most fragmented market. And that is because we have a lot of different distinct languages and cultures that is actually quite different. So as you can see, again, is WhatsApp, followed by Facebook Messenger. We also have WeChat. We also have Viber and also Line. Maybe I talk a little bit about the local specific apps in country only. So Kakao Talk, the one in the yellow where there has a talk, is actually popular in South Korea. Yeah, it's social media with chat, with calls, and also I think a Kakao payment that is incorporated with the talk. Then next, second followed down by Zalo, as you can see, that is actually very popular in Vietnam. Yeah, and of course, everyone knows the Weixin and WeChat that is popular in Greater China. I understand like Chinese communities, even like Chinese communities in Singapore, they all still also use that to actually subscribe to the information and things that are happening in China. But from my own working experience, as you can see, the next few that are popular is between WhatsApp, Telegram, Messenger, and also Line. There are popularity based upon age groups, but overall, I believe WhatsApp is popular in Australia, India, Indonesia, Pakistan, Singapore, and Malaysia. Telegram will be India, Cambodia, and Singapore for different age groups. Cambodia, Telegram is popular. My understanding is because it's used for disseminating of information by the government. Um, and then, of course, Messenger in many other countries, a different age group that is made popular by actually having a Facebook account. Very specific, then line will be Japan, Taiwan, and Thailand. So, Shivani, what does our audience say in terms of the popular apps based upon the chat?
Yeah, so we've got a couple different comments. So Central Europe, WhatsApp is one of the most popular. WhatsApp, iMessage, Line. It sounds like really, I think WhatsApp is kind of the primary one, maybe closely followed by iMessage as well.
Oh,
And I
that's
think
interesting.
what's important to add as well is those apps, they're free of charge, right? So you don't need to be on the network paying for a network to access
True.
those apps. So in countries like Thailand or Indonesia, the cost of living is quite different from Europe. They tend to use more those apps being on over the like the architecture is called over the top, which is internet based. So if people used an iPod back in the days, it was like an iPhone with that a the phone feature into it. So that's how those features are used in those countries.
Cool. So we can move then to the next slide in terms of the benefits and maybe just an overview of the cost. So benefits wise, so I list out three keys. So to the brand and business, of course, the real-time communication is quite key. So whether you're communicating brand information or providing live chat support in terms of your support hours is something that is immediate. In terms of customer engagement and user experience, actually there's a fair amount of personalization content. So if let's say you know what you're personalizing based on age, product group, or what of interest and communications, you can actually then push out related content either through the app or through messaging app itself. Or of course, it can be interactive. I mean, in terms of videos, quiz, audio, or polls. In terms of push and in-app notifications, is also quite used by brands then to deliver promotions, timely updates, events. And most important to me, what I feel is that you have to be where your audience are, and that's why it's a multi-channel strategy. So you could still use email and messaging apps or web chat and mobile app or combination of all three, depending on what is the objective you want to achieve, or it could also be sent together at different timing. So I think the last point, I think it's from Pierre in terms of the action taken in messaging. Pierre, you want to share more about this?
Yeah. So basically, while you're using messaging apps, you are constantly interacting live with your potential customer or audience. So the great thing about this is, for if you think about the CDP perspective, let's say you have a paid campaign on Facebook and you have a messenger campaign, you can say, hey, if that person takes action in my messenger campaign, I can remove it from my paid campaign and therefore save money in that regard. So by having that live data, the live and behavior that are coming into your system, that's a huge potential for you to reach a different audience, and but also to optimize your cost.
Mm. Yes, on the note of course, on the next slide, actually, I have done a quick summary. So if you want to do a mobile app integration with Marketo, you need to look at your license. So it's additional license to integrate. But the good thing is that if you want to send your push notifications in app, I don't think there's any other cost that's involved. So it's a just a license fee from Marketo. If you're interested in dynamic chat itself, then it will be to check your Marketo license, whether you are Select Prime. And of course, charges are then depending on the total number of users, the sales calendar integration, sales agent workbench, number of engaged combos per month. But for messaging app-wise, the cost varies across the different platforms. So like for you need to look at two sets, which is a business account type for, say, an API working with vendor, and a per message cost, depending on your conversation category. So, for example, for WhatsApp, they will list this as, say, a marketing cost, like whether it's marketing is more expensive, for followed by utility, authentication, or service, which is actually lower. And Pierre also reminded you need to check your Marketo API usage, yeah, depending on your license. More information in terms of the platform pricing getting provided in that link below. My understanding for Viber is that there is a cost that is monthly. Yeah, so it's API and per message cost, but there is a minimum that you need to hit monthly. So it varies for different sort of messaging. I think for Telegram and for Messenger, I don't think there is a very specific cost that's published yet. So those are exciting options in terms of if you want to also test this out with your audience. So that's about benefits and costs. Next on, we will move to the planning and setup stage. So in terms of this planning and setup stage, I have tried to put this in a sort of why do you need notifications? So for example, um, you need to understand what is the cadence in terms of what your audience need to use the app for, whether it's something they need to look at it weekly as needed or for what purposes, and what is the intended outcome that you want to actually achieve. For example, you want to use the app to get a demo appointment, you want to push a trial on the app, or you want them to actually download a specific content. So some examples, a very sort of simple example I've used here is to actually look at the use case. So the use case one is that if if your audience have installed the app, they have logged in, so account is created, but there's no activity. Then the second case is that there is activity, but there is no goal reach, which is example your bookings. Then you can actually set up based upon your smart list filters, which this you could use from triggered to executable um, campaign or request campaign, which you can do something like if you have recently installed your app in X days and created an account, and then you have monitored no activity in terms of the usage, then you can send a push notification to say, hey, you want to find out more about a particular content. And if there is activity but not reach the business goal of, say, booking a demo, then you can also use it similarly to have like X days from the account and no demo appointment being made as a slightly different content or messaging. So if you have managed to get someone to actually book an demo appointment, then you can send also things like confirmation appointment and reminders, post appointment, some of the sort of follow up messages. And if you did not attend, you can say something like you miss you. So this is just a very simple customer journey, just for your reference in terms to start you thinking about it. If I move to the next slide, right, these are some of the notification examples. I mean, I've set this up. I've taken some examples from the link. So you can see appointments, you can see product sales, and then there is a list of the types of notifications you could use, anything from informational all the way to re-engagement. I have also included some of the notifications and in-app messages that I have done for my organization. So here, this is English proficiency test that is called IELTS, if anyone is familiar with that. So you need to book a test. So if you have logged into the app itself and you are watching the videos, so there is a message that says that you love watching the videos, you can move forward to book your test. And then, of course, this is a sample of a person's name. And then if you have done a self-assessment, it could be a self-assessment or audit that you have entered, and then you can also have said something like it's time to book a test or keep preparing. So these are some notification examples. But if you want in-app message, which is very similar to some of the e-commerce, it will be more suitable to highlight specific content. Example here, this is like how you can sharpening your listening skill with accuracy, and the other one is the Chinese New Year promotion. Yeah, so these are things that you could do to engage your audience in the app. I will now move on to the reporting. So how can you do reporting in Marketo? So for push notifications is the first one that you see. You can look at the link. So it is number sent and then how many people have tapped on it. So this is literally what you have, what you can see. And of course, you can also add your own UTM codes and links, and then that will be to your dashboard, and then you can see the activity there or the conversions there, depending on what you do. So if you have a tab that goes to, say, book an appointment, you can actually see that conversion. The second one is actually in-app. So in-app wise, obviously is always going to be a trigger. The first one is always like, you could do a trigger or you could batch, but for the in-app is always going to be a triggered version. And then you can deploy to X amount of people and you will see how much was actually displayed to your audience and how many tap. So this is overall cumulative numbers as time goes on, depending also on your settings. So this is a quick example of how you could also do reporting. Your in-app message can also have your UTM codes and your links for your dashboard reporting. So this is a quick overview of how you do mobile app notifications. Moving on to the next one will be dynamic chat. Perhaps not everyone is very keen on dynamic chat, but I did realize that it has a very good because we did not have this business and we launched it. What we noticed definitely is that for audience that actually wants a self-service, there is actually a quick answer to that, and then could be a customer service improvement and a faster resolution time, as compared to someone actually calling in or doing an email inquiry. And for your businesses, what we do is that we realize that when a lot of FAQ questions that is commonly asked, then it reduces actually the pressure on call hotlines. And not only that, we actually have a customer insight to know what are actually some things that the customers in different countries look at. I mean, we look at this, and some are about rescheduling in terms of appointments, some about preparation information. So this gives you an opportunity to actually gather these insights and, of course, to some extent, reduce operational costs if it helps and rise above the competition. So some of the operational use cases, and you can decide how you want to use this chat, be it using what I call a decision tree, way, which is a very elementary 101. You could then decide whether you want to use an AI component or a live chat. So I have done this content flow, and that is how I actually used to do planning in terms of how we use the chat, which is if you want to base on the booking sort of FAQ, so you provide the booking FAQ, then that is a option to reschedule or cancel. So you can actually then, if it's a reschedule, then you can look at a link, which also can be tagged using UTMs, and then you can see how many people have clicked onto it, and whether it has done the conversion that you need. And if it's not available in terms of the test dates that are or the sort of booking dates that are available, you can actually have this option to the live chat. If you want to cancel, then it's again example or link to the page on how to cancel or section how to cancel. If there are more questions, it can have a AI portion just to fix upon a specific content you want, or it goes to a live agent. I mean, this is useful for commonly and frequently asked questions that maybe are not going to change a lot based upon the sensitivity of time or anything that would change the content. So that is the example that I have. So next would be how these are the examples. This is what I do for my organization. Probably I won't spend a lot of time doing an example, but you can actually see this. So for IELTS, which is about English proficiency tests, this is what we help and enable test thinkers to do, because we want to help transform their sort of educational experience. So to engage them, we give this is a decision tree whereby you can actually just select your topic and then it gives the answer. So surprisingly, actually, in terms of some of the goal conversions, this actually does help with the goal conversions. So and it's actually quite favored for some of the some of stakeholders want to go to the next level. The other one, this is in Bahasa, this is for Indonesia. You can also start with whether it's English or Bahasa, and then start your journey, which is pretty similar. It does goes to a live agent during working hours, yeah, for the virtual assistant. So these are some examples for you to have a think about if you are actually looking at how to set up a dynamic chat. Then, of course, we would need to look at the reporting elements for dynamic chat. So, okay, these are examples that I've taken about. So you can see in terms of the engagement rate and conversion rate. Yeah, for the first slide, apologies if this looks a bit small, but you can see whether how many people engage, whether goal are reached. If you use the live chat option, then of course as a reporting a live chat. If you use the meeting scheduler, which then is the third sort of report there that gives you all this information. I mean, from there, we can see the top page performance based upon what is most popularly sort of linked to, and that does give us good insights in terms of content and what we need to engage with your audience. So this is also one way, other than the web stats pages. And also they can also fill in a form, and the form you get to collect the data just like whether you are having an inquiry form. and that goes direct into Marketo too. Okay, so that is the overview of mobile app and the dynamic chat all integrated with Marketo. But the messaging applications portion, I will hand it over to Pierre, and this is perhaps the highlight of what everyone's looking for today.
Great, thank you, Melanie. That was great. So first of all, before I start this session, I will start with a couple of questions, and if we all were in the same room, I will ask to raise your hand. But how many of you have already integrated Marketo with the messaging app? And my wild guess will be less than 10%. Now, put that in the chat if you don't agree. Now, how many of you would love to have a Marketo and messaging app integrated? And that thing that will be within the 50 to 60%. So if you move on to the next slide, please. Integration, integrating social apps, give you incredible benefits in terms of enhancing your personalization, lead tracking, and that real-time communication with your potential client or customer. The challenge of the integration, obviously, is that there's no native integration between Marketo and social apps. So therefore, you require some technical expertise. You're also subject to some constraint within your industry or the region you live in. And also, part of the attribution and reporting, that's a bit of a challenge, which we'll try to explain a bit later on. So if you move on, please. So how do we connect Marketo with messaging apps? We usually use an iPaaS, so integration platform as a service. I give a few examples here. The list is not exhaustive, so you have plenty to choose from. We call this more third-party tool. They're not as flexible. If you go to the next slide, as your custom API integrations that Twilio, Vonage all make. The advantage of using custom API is you can customize them better. It's scalable, so if you want to have more feature, more program, you can, and it's flexible, so you're not restricted by like a third party to scale your projects. In terms of challenges, the complexity lies around building and maintaining that custom API architecture. Therefore, so you have your API limitation. So think about your Marketo daily rate limits, and also your payload size, and also your ongoing maintenance. As we go on, API gets updated to have different specifications, and that also can be time consuming. There's also, if you have the resources, you can build your own API, which is great. I know there's a champion, Taran, he's built his own API. He wrote a blog about it, so you can look for that. That's a great blog. And I've heard as well that if you have AGO actually connects with, for example, WhatsApp. So you could connect your Marketo instance with AGO and therefore orchestrate your customer journey via AGO to reach your customer on WhatsApp, for example. So if you move on to the next slide, please. Yeah, so planning for integration. So it's all about planning. You obviously need to define your objectives, making sure that you want to be successful within your next integration. Knowing your audience, like Melina was mentioning before. Which part of the world you're targeting. Very important to design your workflow and define whether it is going to be a complex workflow or it's going to be a simple one. And it's going to be a use of a chatbot or live agent. So the list is not exhaustive. I put a few points here, but compliance and policy, your opt-in process, it should be the first mind. You should check with legal department. Are we okay to go with that? Data security also, and message retention. How long you want to keep those messages in your database before you delete them. Let's move on to the next slide. Yeah. So key consideration for an integration. If we look at the WhatsApp, we're going to look into a couple of WhatsApp scenario after, and because it's being used by 2 billion people, we can actually talk about it. But you're going to make sure that you create that business account and link your phone number with that business account. That's the primary thing to do. And I've seen some case that it's not happening. Again, we're looking at data privacy and compliant. You have to be compliant with legal, anti-spam law, wherever you live in the world. That's very important. Your message personalization, so you can use your tokens for a more effective communication, and monitor your API usage. That's rule number one. Make sure that you don't go over the limit, because your CEO is not going to be impressed. So moving to the next slide. Yeah, thank you. So here we're just looking at a very, very simple integration between Marketo and WhatsApp via Zapier. So there will be no webhook, there's no code. What you need to do is create a user role with the API access, and then sync that API user role to API user, and therefore you can go into your launch point and create your client ID, your client secret, and also gather your REST API endpoint URL. So this is what you get in the blue, green, Marketo, and then you can see on the Zapier side, you enter those details. So if we move on to the next slide, once you land into Zapier, this is the Zapier dashboard. We call Marketo, so we connect Marketo to Zapier via the screen I showed you before, and then we add a Zapier component to the filter, and then we can send a message. This is a very basic integration. If you click on next, there was no activity recorded in Marketo. So what is the solution? So if you can click on next. Yeah, and then another next. Thank you. Right, so solution that we could create for this scenario, it's obviously create some custom activities. You can create a field with a system date to capture the message sent date, and also you could create some program membership saying, okay, in your smart campaign, message sent, and you can tag that user with that message for a bit of reporting purposes. But this is very, very manual. Now, if you move to the next slide. In Zapier, with the current function I show you, there's about 7 templates. So you got a new lead, new order, shipping confirmation, and so on. As you can see, if you want to create some custom template or amend those template, you can contact Zapier support. They'll be more than happy to help you out and meet your business needs and requirement. They're very flexible. Move on to the next slide. So this one, we're looking at a bit of a more complex journey where we remove Zapier and we use Twilio. So Twilio is a great tool that I've been using for the two-way communication between, Marketo and SMSs, or Marketo and WhatsApp. So in this scenario, we have a lead that is want to register for a demo. Upon submitting their details, they receive a WhatsApp message confirmation, and then all of that data is captured, and then it can be used later on down the track for further nurturing. So you see the step number 1, the lead submits the form, and then you got a Marketo webhooks that points to the Twilio endpoint URL and sends the information. So Marketo webhook, we said, okay, we need to send a phone number to Twilio and a message that we want to send. So it goes, hey, Brad, thank you for your interest. would you be happy to receive demo information? The customer responds on WhatsApp, say, yep, great, I'd like to receive that information. And then TDO picks up via his webbook that information and send it to marketer. So this is where it becomes very interesting, because you're starting to get some information about the product, the customer behavior, the customer details information, and therefore you can automate your campaign and start saying, okay, well, all right, if the customer respond, yes, I want a demo, let's send him an email alert to sales, or maybe we can send him an email with a Calendly attachment so he can book his demo. So once the demo is scheduled, it reaches the Marketo, and the demo has happened, it is be triggered in Marketo, then you can send a post engagement thank you message saying thank you for attending via Telio to WhatsApp, and all the data is captured in Marketo. So that's the beauty of going further down the track. This is a bit of more complex integration in terms of setting up the webhooks, authentication, and payloads, but this is quite a strong one to have. If you want to go to the next slide. So in terms of reporting, like we were saying before, it's not a challenge, but you'll need to create those custom fields, and because it's no native integration, you'll need to create that custom reporting. So you can do through a different way. You can do a program reporting with all the fields that you've created, or you can also create your custom report, or you can use external tools like Locus Studio or Power BI. In terms of visualization, what I've done in the past is push data from Marketo via Zapier, webhooks by Zapier to Locus Studio. It works very well. It can be live, and it's a very powerful tool to you want to showcase your campaign results to your stakeholders. So that's a good way to do. So it's not impossible, but you got to take in mind that it doesn't come out of the box. So you'll have to build that. So if you go to the next slide. Yeah. And here are some of the screenshot references. Some are from Melina. What you can see here, we can add some buttons. So this is where you will come to that template customization. Yes, no, do you like to attend, or we'll confirm later, you want to get directions, or it's really, really cool feature to use, and really to, enhance that user experience in some sort, where a user doesn't have to think and can see clearly the call to action in a screen. So that's it, and I think that's about it for us. Yeah.
Thank you both. I think lots of great examples in there. And I think it was very informative, especially when it comes to dynamic chat. That's something that I think a lot of us have been kind of curious about and in some instances using. So thank you. So for the rest of the group, feel free to drop questions into the chat. We've got a couple minutes left, so happy to take a couple questions. If there's anything kind of burning, I'll give it a minute.
So we had one person that has WhatsApp integrated out of the 17. So yeah, 10%. I did ask that question about 5 years ago, and it was about the same.
That's fair. That's fair.
I mean, does anyone have if those that have the integration, if they have any challenges, they could also share if we could help to answer?
Or success stories as well.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think there's one coming through. Okay, so Stephen has asked, is there out-of-the-box reporting for WhatsApp integrations?
No, there's no out-of-the-box reporting for WhatsApp integration.
Okay, let's see, we've got someone in the group. So they used to have a Twilio SMS integration 5 years ago in previous instance. Good to hear. Let's see, we've got another question. So is the group using messaging for mostly marketing or also service purposes? I'm assuming you mean customer service purposes.
Yeah, so the messaging piece can be used across different journey or different path of the customer journey. So it could be at the acquisition piece, could be at the engagement piece, could be at the service or loyalty piece. That there's really the list goes on. So that you can be creative at all stages, but yeah, that can be done at every single level.
Maybe I can just shed some light about the marketing piece. So marketing piece, obviously, if you are using WhatsApp, you have to have a marketing sort of template, yeah, and it has the marketing cost to it. What I see is effective if you want to get event attendance. Yeah, so that is one way that you actually use it. I think is pretty good. But in terms of service, like event reminders are actually very efficient. So we did, I mean, for me, for those who have read the sort of WhatsApp message that I can track based upon like communication logs, which is a custom object that is being created with the integration, it does show a very high percentage of people turning up. Yeah, so that is what I would say, that it works for both ways, but it's really depending on what your goals and objectives you want.
So thank you. We do have another great question. For a case like WhatsApp, how do we capture opt-in or out for different channel preferences?
Yeah, so I think in this case, you'll be using your preference center to start with. So that will be the first point. Then you can do campaigns as well. We'd like to be notified by WhatsApp, so you can write like a velocity script, saying if the person is already subscribed to receive WhatsApp message, don't show the message, but you can put that as an option in an email, for example. Say, would you like to receive those information? But I think that the more consistent way to do it, it will be through the preference center, where you can align all your channels and people can use their preferences.
From my perspective, if you want to capture opt-out for channels, if let's say for that particular audience you think that is WhatsApp, so you can also create a custom field for opt-in based on your preference channels, and then you can that WhatsApp has a stop, please reply stop to unsubscribe option. So that option itself can go back to Marketo and it can mark that as opt-out specifically for that channel, so that it can differentiate between, say, SMS, if you have different channels. So this is one way that you could do so.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, a few minutes left. If there are any other burning questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. But I think this was a fantastic session, Pierre and Melina. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll just give it another minute and then we might be able to close early.
It was fun.
Did we just to check, we answered like Stephen Waters' question about what he wants to do, or that was not really a question?
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about it for sure. I think, yeah, his thought was we're only using for marketing so far, primarily around events, but was interested in using dynamic chat and WhatsApp for customer service. I think kind of just a nod to what what you all were saying, is there's many different functions and kind of use cases and routes you can go for this.
Yeah, it's all about the work, the customer journey, where we are in the customer journey. That's what we, yeah.
Yeah.
So it can be used at any stage.
Excellent. Well, I'm seeing a lot of thank yous in the chat. So thank you all for joining. As I mentioned at the beginning, we will post this on the, awesome, Stephen, thank you. We will post this recording on YouTube. You will be able to access it later on if you have any questions or things you'd like to review. But for now, thank you all so much for coming and for listening in on this session. We were really excited to put it on for everyone. And yeah, we will see you either on LinkedIn or hopefully at Adobe Summit.
Great. Thank you, guys. Have a good weekend.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.